Na kama tulivyokuahidi ndio hivyo, ya mgambo imejia na kipenga kimepulizwa katika awamu hii ya kikao. Tulisema ulituita nasi tukaitika, na tupo tayari kuridhisha na kuridhia nafsi yako kupitia mjadala wa siku hii ya leo kuhusiana na masuala ambayo yameibuka katika uongozi wa wanawake katika taifa hili la Kenya. Linajiri hili ikiwa bado kufikia wakati huu hatujafikia theluthi mbili ya jinsia katika bunge kama inavyohitajika. Ni swala ambalo wale ambao ni viongozi Rais William Ruto na Raila Odinga wanasema kwamba litakuwa likiafikiwa katika ripoti ya NADCO, na ni utekelezwaji ambao kufikia sasa lile jopo la masuala ya wanawake wanasema kwamba wana hakika kwamba huenda mambo yakawa tofauti. Lakini wakati ambapo tunazungumzia hili, changamoto zenyewe ambazo wanawake wanapitia ni kama zipi? Hatua ambazo wamepiga katika masuala ya uongozi ni kama zipi? Jina langu ni Elizabeth Mutuku na sipo peke yangu studioni kama uonavyo. Karibu nami yupo Linda Alela, na tutakupa nafasi kuzungumza nasi kwa 22047 mitandao ya kijamii @TV47 Kenya pale Facebook na ukurasa wetu wa X. Kauli yako siku zote inakubalika. Wageni wetu wapo radhi kuuliza maswali, na pia wewe nyumbani una nafasi. Linda?
Swali kuu la jioni hii ya leo likiwa ni, sijui utaisema kwa Kiswahili na mimi nitaisema kwa Kimombo, ya kwamba we are asking a very simple question: do you suppose the leaders that have been accorded to us, or the women that are in spots of leadership, have done enough to prove themselves? We have talked about affirmative action, and we have seen just how good it has done right here in the country. But some people would argue that it will be important for the women to go out there, and compete just like their male counterparts. Some would say it is important that we propel the voice of affirmative action so that we can create these spaces for our women. One of the biggest beneficiaries, and I don't want to call them beneficiaries of the affirmative action, but basically those ones that would say, see the essence of this, is basically the women representatives in the country. This is a seat that was brought on board courtesy of affirmative action. Some have argued that we have not seen much that the women representatives have done for us, but others argue that perhaps this was the best thing that has happened to us. Again, courtesy of devolution, we get to this very important conversation, and we do not just focus on politics, but we broaden our focus onto the corporate world, onto the social world, because these conversations are important. We have several reports that speak to the concerns and leadership of women. We have UN reports, we have African Development Bank reports, we have Beijing reports, we have so many reports that speak to the various aspects of challenges that women face as they are propelled to leadership, but equally the strides that we have made. One of these reports speaks to the question of mentorship, and they say that 24% of women leaders have had a formal mentor compared to 30% of men, that the mentorship gap widens at higher levels, where they say at the senior level only 27% of women have had a formal mentor compared to 38% of men. The reason why I bring this conversation of mentorship is simply because we also have very many young girls here. Some in campus, and looking forward to get to levels of leadership. Are they well prepared? Are they well baked? Do they feel like, these ladies that are at top levels are doing enough to make sure that they are propelled? Elizabeth Mutuku, labda tumpatie nafasi Liz naye atusalimie watu, alafu tutakuja
kisha tuanze mjadala.
Yes.
Liz, nafasi ni yako kutoka upande huo wa pili. Utujuze unayepi kutoka hapo, na tutakuwa tukitarajia nini siku hii leo.
Na asante sana Liz na Linda Alela. Kusema kweli ni furaha kuwa hapa siku hii ya leo. Tuko na wanawake hapa mnavyosema. Bado ni vijana, wanawake wadogo, na pia wanataka kuwezeshwa ipasavyo ili kuweza kufikia lengo hili la usawa wa kijinsia. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa tunatangamana nao. Kama wako na maswali katika wataalamu wetu walio hapa juu, pia watakuwa wanauliza, tujue tu ni vipi sisi kama Wakenya, sisi kama wanawake tunaweza kujiwezesha sisi kwa sisi. Ndio hayo tu, tutakuwa tunatangamana tu na jukwaa hili. Wako tayari na wanasema wako na maswali mengi tu wangetaka kujua kutoka kwa wataalamu wetu.
Tuingie kwa introduction.
Hapo ninaamini hapo ndio utatuelekeza, na kisha tutauliza maswali yenyewe.
Nafikiri upande wa audience hatutawataja majina yote kwa sababu ni wengi sana. Wakati mtu atakuwa anapokea inaitwa kipaza sauti, unapopokea kipaza sauti basi unasema jina lako na unatokea sehemu gani, alafu kwa haraka unakwenda kwenye pointi yako, sio? Lakini kwa sasa nafikiri tutapata nafasi ya kuwakaribisha wageni ambao tuko nao. Tuko na Pauline Shegu ambaye yuko hapa. Pauline Shegu, sijui kwa nini imeanzia hapo katikati kama ambavyo sijamuona mama amefika pale tena in collar.
Yes.
Unajua hiyo ni kitengo ambayo ilikuwa ngumu sana kupata akina mama wakiingia.
Maanake wengi wa wale walio katika nyanja ile ni wanaume, na sitasema vile ni kwa kuwa napenda wanawake zaidi, lakini hapo ndio najua wengi ni wanaume, ila nafurahia zaidi siku hii ile kujua kwamba pia tuna mama.
Ndio. Atatusalimia? Proceed.
Asante sana. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Dr. Catherine Ngambi, na mimi ni chaplain.
Chaplain, karibu sana.
Asante.
Pauline, we come to you. Say hi to the people.
Hello everyone. Hamjambo watazamaji popote hapo mlipo.
She's a Swahili anchor, by the way, so yes.
Kwa miaka mingi, miaka 15 nimekuwa msomaji wa taarifa za habari. Mimi si mgeni kwenye ulingo huu. Hata hivyo ni vizuri kujitambulisha. Mimi naitwa Pauline Shegu, HSC OGW. I'm a she of all trade. Utajua zaidi ni kwa nini. But I'm also a professional rally driver.
Yes. Asante sana. Pia kitengo ambacho wanawake kwa kawaida wachache sana. And then we come to you, Daktari Elizabeth. Say jambo to people.
Good evening.
I hope you have the mic, yes?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Good evening to all our viewers. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Kikao, minor. I'm a medical doctor, health system specialist, and leader within the health sector.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Naj.
Hi everyone. So I'm Najda Khan. I am a regional people and culture expert, a transformational leadership coach. I'm also a certified mediator. And I'm excited to be here today because I'm also a PhD candidate and my thesis is in women in leadership.
Beautiful.
In post-colonial Kenya. So I'm very excited to be here and share a lot of that journey with you and the statistics I found, and also take back what I'm learning from here and use it.
Beautiful. I think tunaanzia papo hapo. People and culture. See, you said you're a what? People and culture?
People and culture expert.
People and culture expert. One of the biggest deterrents to us achieving anything to do with, you know, just getting to empower women. You go to some of our cultures, they will tell you that we must conduct FGM. That in a huge way, you know, bars the woman from just being there, from flowering to, you know, adulthood and all that. We go to some cultures that there has to be early marriages. We go to some cultures, women cannot be allowed to do this, cannot be allowed to do that. We go to some cultures, women cannot drive cars, you know, things like, as basic as that, yet we have Pauline here who is a rally driver, you know. We go to cultures and to certain people and we are told that this is just meant for the men. Something as basic as food. Unaambiwa, like in my culture, when kuku imechinjwa, there is a part of kuku that cannot whatsoever be touched by a woman. In the event that that happens, I don't know what happens. Sometimes we get lost. And before we come to you, we're trying to fix something. I think we'll be coming back to you. Elizabeth, sijui kama kuna kitu katika jamii yenu labda unaweza ukafikiria kinasemekana kwamba hii hapa sio cha mabinti.
Ninakumbuka nikikuwa kuna baadhi ya yale ambayo ulikuwa unaambiwa uwezi kutangamana na vijana katika hili, hauwezi kuwaongelesha kwa namna hii. Na ni baadhi ya yale hata ukikuwa kama mwanamke baadaye inakuwa na madhara katika nafasi yako wakati ambapo unajitetea. Maana unapata mwanamume amepewa nafasi ya kwanza na wewe unakaa ni kama uko hapo kumsindikisha. Hayo ni baadhi ya yale nili experience wakati huo na kacha, lakini baada nilikuwa nashukuru kwanza nilikuwa na baba ambaye nafasi yangu ya kuzungumza pia aliheshimu. Ndicho kitu ambacho kimenifanya kufika mahali nilipo siku hii leo.
All right, we come to you, Najda. People and culture.
So I'd like to first clarify. So people and culture is the globally accepted term for HR.
Right.
We don't call human beings resources anymore.
Okay.
We call them people and culture. But because also HR
at the workspace.
HR is a limited term to the role that we play as people and culture, because there is people, there's organizational culture, and then when you're looking at global, or at least whether it's Pan-African or Sub-Saharan, there are different cultures, like you mentioned, that play a role when you're leading an organization. Because you could have an organization, all of us sitting here come from different cultures with different norms, and that affects an organization when it comes to something as basic as revenue increase if we don't understand the cultures that everyone, so diversity and inclusion, that's what comes in. But you're not wrong. I mean, we have, that's why in this discussion of women in leadership, it's a global pandemic. It's not just African. But when we look at Africa and we single out Africa, and then if we go down into Kenya again, we are lagging back because we live in a very strong patriarchal system. We already talked about kuku ikichinjwa, kuna culture zingine, I think it's Wakikuyu, there's a certain part of the goat that's not eaten, or it's only eaten by men. So those kind of cultures that really do speak out. Now what we're trying to say is, at what point do we stop talking about these elements? I mean, it's 2025. You know, we can't keep having this discussion every year. Every year, I'm on a panel or we're in discussions like this and we're having the same discussion. So this year's International Women's Day theme was Accelerate Action. Because we really need to say, okay, this is how it is, but what are we doing? At the end of the day, women are the nurturers. You're the ones who are giving birth. We're the ones who are raising these kids. So can we start teaching girls to break glass ceilings instead of fitting into glass slippers? Because that's what we've been taught, the Cinderella stories and the Snow White. It's all about the glass slipper. And these ceilings that have been built by these patriarchal societies, and no, I don't want to say only men. Women play a role. We do it. How many of us have been raised and being told, don't raise your voice. Your brother is hungry, go make food. You know, your brother doesn't have school uniform, go and wash it. You know, things that we do out of love. But when you look at the way that they are building unconscious biases, there are too many. So what are we doing as women, as mothers, as sisters, as daughters, as wives? What are we doing to accelerate the action that we want to see? Because are we going to be able to change the entire Kikuyu community today and say we're going to wipe out that, you know, that social bias? Or maybe for the Muslim communities who say early marriage. And I want to say one thing that I'm a product of early marriage. I'm sitting and doing my PhD today. I wear I have multiple feathers in my hat. I've been raised by women who have broken those ceilings for me and have enabled me to continue breaking ceilings. So while I'm a product, and so I feel like early marriages are not a deterrent. If you are raised around people that will still, you know, still let you spread your wings. So I think I just like to say that we may not be able to eradicate cultural norms that have caused us to have this conversation even today, even the 21st century, even 2025. What we can do is ensure that from here going forward, each and every individual, it's not just the leaders. It's not just so whether it's the mama mboga, or it's the woman in the CEO position, or it's that woman rep, or it's the woman who we're going to have as president one day, hopefully. It's that all of us have a role to play, and we just need to be bold enough. We need to be able to, I think when you talked about mentorship, that's the main issue here, because women are having an issue speaking up. Many people in my field, in HR, will tell you, when you're interviewing for a role, let's not even go too far. There'll be men and women coming in for that role. The man will come in and say, I want 1 million shillings for this role, and he'll say it with a straight face. He'll know his worth, he knows what he's done. A woman with the same credentials, or even higher than that man. What's the first, let me tell you, this is just my own statistic, and we can agree across the board. She'll say, what's the budget for it? You know? So yeah, so what's the budget? 500,000. But you know, she knows it should be paying $1 million for anything. 500,000, but we'll start you off at 3, and then we'll see how it goes after 3 months probation. Typical, yeah. And she'll be like, it's okay, I'll take it. The man will walk out. He'll say, when you want me, you know where to find me, and he'll go. That small thing, I'll tell you, and that's where we're going to say, own your space, or create your space. Demand it, speak out, push boundaries, and so it starts with us.
Beautiful. Liz, before you come in.
Ndio nitauliza kwako Elizabeth. Imekuwa tofauti while you were growing up, ni space ambayo ulipewa na ukakuwa encouraged tofauti na wale wanawake wengine, ama kwako ilikuwa namna gani? Manake wakati ambapo pia tunazungumzia baadhi ya yale ambayo tumepitia, tunazungumza na experiences zetu.
I think I'll speak in English.
That's okay.
So for me, growing up, I'm the only girl in a family of four children. So I have 3 brothers. So growing up, I grew up like typical any other child. There was no, this is the girl, because you can't give the girl only one particular position. And of course, in terms of the cultural biases, they were there. But I would say within my family, I think my dad really pushed in terms of ensuring that you're the best. You need to go to the highest level. I never felt that I needed to be lower than what I am today. And it is because of the work that the parents and also the environment that I grew up in, because I grew up in a very cosmopolitan area. Okay. So pretty much cultures were all over the place. We grew up with Luos, Luyas. So pretty much some of the cultural biases sort of get rubbed off when you interact with cosmopolitan place.
Beautiful. Pauline, as well as Daktari, your stories, and you are in very unique spaces. Perhaps these girls would want to hear what are some of the challenges, what are your stories, what is this one thing that you can pick, that you'd say, this was something as I grew, in different spaces.
Thank you so much, Linda and Liz. Yes, for me, let me speak in Swahili. I'll mix because I come from different culture. Yeah. That's from coast. But what I believe is somehow we must respect culture, no matter what. Even as much as we are trying to change, run away from it, you cannot run away from it 100%. Okay. There are certain things that must be respected. For me, I can say, being brought up in a family of 9, and I'm the eldest daughter. Being, first of all, a professional rally driver, I had to break that culture that motorsport is only meant for men. And you cannot do certain things. A woman is not allowed to drive. But I decided, no, I have to change the narrative and I have to respect my culture as well. But from my background, my family, my parents, there are certain things they felt like, no, this is what you want to do. Somehow you have to follow this right path, but also respect this other path. So where I am and the things I have done, breaking the ceiling, and also I'm continuing to breaking it up to the, it doesn't have an end. Yeah. I will still break it to the maximum limit because already I've broken one, that is the motorsport, and I'm still breaking others. So there are different cultures and you have to respect them. Kwa hivyo tamaduni ni lazima tuyatimize na tuyaheshimu. Nimelelewa katika tamaduni tofauti tofauti ya kuheshimu wakuu wetu, vile ya kuwasalimu. Mahali natoka culture yetu tamaduni inasema kwamba ukiamka asubuhi lazima muamkue mkubwa wako. Ukikutana na wakubwa wako lazima uamkue, usisubiri wao wakuamkue. Ukiwakuta wamesimama na kuna kiti na wewe umekalia hicho kiti, inuka wapate nafasi. So kuna vitu vingine hata wewe mwenyewe kwa roho yako, imani yako itakuambia hapana, vile ninavyofanya haistahili. So there are cultures, there are things that we need to respect, especially when it comes to our elderly people, religious, and also just certain things, not everything, but when it comes to religion, we have to respect. That's another culture. We have to respect our sisters, brothers and sisters, Muslims. This time they are in Lent. I'm a Catholic. I'm also on Lent. So we are together. It's something that we have to respect. Bishop or pastor? Yes, she's here. So I believe in playing different roles in different cultures, and we must respect people's cultures. Okay. So I'll tell you more about why I've reached where I am and what I'm still doing and where I'm heading and how you are supposed to respect your cultures no matter what. Even if someone tells you, no, you are doing this, you have to change. This is another century. There are certain things you cannot run away from. But we also agree that there are some of them that are quite backward, demeaning for the girl child and all that. Especially the mutilation part. Yes. That one, everyone, of course, no one would love her daughter to go through that. Right. But these certain things that we have to sensitize that community that is still practicing that. Yeah. We have to respect it, yes, but sensitization is very important. Okay. Just to tell them, you need to do A, B, C, D. You cannot just kill it like that. It's the same as a smoker. You cannot tell a smoker today you have to stop smoking. So it's gradual.
Okay.
Yes.
Kwa mahali umetoka, did you ever feel limited na culture na baadhi ya zile ambazo tamaduni zinakuwa practiced?
Mahali nimetoka, mimi nimetoka upande wa Taita. Na nimewaelezea vile kuna hizo tamaduni ambazo lazima tuziheshimu, lakini kwangu kulelewa na mahali nimefika, nafikiri si kulelewa katika ile familia ya kuheshimu, ama sitaki kusema kuheshimu, lakini si kuwekwa katika ile hali ya kwamba hizi ni vitu lazima hapana. Singekuwa mahali nipo. Kama ningekuwa nafuatilia hizo tamaduni, singekuwa mahali nipo. Na singefanya haya mambo mengi nayo yafanya. Ndio mahali nimefika. Kwa hivyo ninaheshimu culture yetu nyumbani ndio, lakini kama ningeyafuata kabisa mpaka mwisho,
na ungekuwa hapa.
Ningekuwa kwingine. Hata ningekuwa nimefanya mambo mengine ambayo hayastahili. Na sitayasema hapa, lakini ni sawa.
Haya mengine tutazungumzia. Lakini kwa sasa tungependa pia kusikia kwake kasisi. Kufika mahali ulipo na kuvaa hiyo kola umevaa siku hii ya leo, baadhi ya safari yako imekuwa namna gani?
Well, asante sana kwa fursa hii. I'll choose to speak in English.
Yes,
it's not been easy starting even from the growing up. I'm born between boys. Whoever I follow and whoever followed me passed on. But, you know, there was always that issue of shut up, girls don't speak, we are going to football. And my mom would always tell my brothers, tag her along. You know that word of usiwachwe nyumbani. And my brothers would, you know, have me do haircuts, you know, to look like a boy, wear shorts. So I grew up quite wild. You know, all the games that boys used to play because of my brothers. So now when I went to the girls' school in high school, it was quite a transition for me. But I have a part of my life where I'm actually a certified accountant.
Oh.
So there is a part of my life that I was there. And I worked for an organization in Mombasa where I was the only Christian lady manager, you know, in a group of men. So they would always forget me. Then I remember my boss would say, oh, you are here. And I would say, yeah. And when like periods of Ramadan, you know, people have to be given sugar and everything else. And then they say, okay, you know, the names, of course, would be the Muslims. And I would add mine. And my boss would look at me and just say, you slim ukue tu Kulthum, you know, from Catherine. So I would Kulthum my way on the list. And I would always tell them that, no, because everybody has worked for this organization. So that was a first, that everybody during Ramadan, we understand we have to respect Muslims, cultures are there. But we got to that point when everybody was respected and whatever was issued was given to everybody. So we managed to, you know, to cross that Rubicon where now everybody is an employee and worthy. So that's one first. And of course, there is that part of my life where now I crossed over and there was that point that I felt God calling me to do his work. And so I left everything else, which everybody just thought, why would you have a 6-digit salary and why would you leave a lucrative position like that, especially because I was working with Ernst & Young. And so they thought, why would you leave that? But I left, went back to the seminary and fought through men, you know? Even the aspect of being in class with everybody really, 3/4 of them being men, was intimidating enough. And of course, some of the people would always speak in class and say, except for Eve. And of course, they would look at me, Eving me, you know, and if it was not for Eve, and there would be those kind of innuendos that you would say, yeah, can you imagine how boring it must have been for Adam? You know, he just woke up one day and here was Eve saying, where is your broom? You don't sweep around here. How can you be so rough? Do you even shower? Gosh, my hair, you don't have anything here. She brought, you know, women bring excitement. So I would always look for that opportunity to remove the bad out of the woman child or the lady child. And so even the profession I picked from amongst them is chaplaincy. Now, chaplaincy is not very common in Africa, and it's not taught because in chaplaincy, you don't project your denomination.
Okay.
If you go to hospital, there are no hospitals for Muslims, only Hindus and stuff. So people die. And so you have to hold somebody's hand, prepare them. And in hospices as well. So that was a ceiling I had to break. And right now I'm in the business of, I train people across the world. Like people in Australia, churches in Australia, Ghana. I've signed various contracts with people to train pastors. So like 4:30 in the morning, I always train. And most of them are men. So I would always ask, so amongst us, who is your best teacher? You. And I would say, yes, me.
You're supposed to be me after all. Interesting, interesting, Rev. And we'll be coming to you because I see a lot of firmness and a lot of decision making that is, required in your journey. Something that most of the girls or most of the women will tell you they find it difficult, to achieve or to be, because just waking up in the morning and saying that from being accountant to chaplaincy, and chaplaincy in a space where there are lots of men, it requires for someone to be sober enough and firm enough in their decisions. So we come to you and understand the importance of this, especially in that space of leadership. But on the side of Elizabeth, I know we do not just have students, we have student leaders, we have leaders actually that are, holding positions in different spectrums. I think we'd love to hear something to do with them.
And we have upcoming leaders. Liz, utupeleke upande huo wa pili.
Thank you so much. Indeed, we have heard from these brilliant women. Indeed, we need to rise against all odds for us to own our space as women. And I would like to hear from our audience. This is going to be a very interactive session. Yes. If anyone would like to go first, just tell us briefly your name and just how has it been like navigating through this space as a woman, and how has culture limited you maybe in a way? Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay, good evening, our viewers, and of course, my fellow audience. My name is Mwongela Roda, well known as the boss baby of mental health. So I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a journalist by profession. I graduated last year, and I've gotten an opportunity to kind of work with the government, so I have a little bit of experience. And also having run a mental health organization, this is my 5th year. So I started in campus like most of them here. I managed to be the first female candidate to vie for presidency in campus. Nice. And I'm still trying to break barriers. Maybe some few years I'll sit and then you'll have me in the panel. So thank you so much. I have had my experience in government and also being able to work with a few corporates, trying to, get funding for my organization. And also, mental health is a very unique aspect and it mostly affects women. And the major issues in mental health, when you're trying to articulate them, people feel like, what is this woman saying? So in my journey as a mental health advocate or as a young leader, I'm the youth president for Murang'a County. Actually, I've come from that Keharo constituency that was in the news.
Yeah, that was in the news. You have to explain a lot of things to us.
Right? Yes, but we have the best MP, of course. So
you must say that.
I have to enter the governor also. So in my experience in trying to venture into leadership, we've had this challenge. Every panel I get to go, especially these meetings with NGOs and other leaders. When you try to stand and articulate a point, they look at you like, huyu anatuambia nini? And then I've seen this very funny behavior where you go to a meeting, maybe it's time to serve people. I found myself in a few meetings with men. And then they look at me like, wewe kasichana kadogo, amka utulete serviette. And I'm like, I'm also a CEO of an organization. So how are they able to, break that ceiling and stamp some authority for them to be felt like women? Because people think that our role is to wash the dishes, clean the tables, We can wear red bottoms and venture and have some information, And that is why I'm doing short hair to look like a man and tell them that we can do this the way you do it.
Right. So beautiful. Thank you, Rhoda.
Thank you so much. Okay. Let's hear from her as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Carol Mwaura. I am in a very unique space. I call myself a Wikipedian. We all know the largest encyclopedia that is free online. I am part of the people that edit it.
Nice.
And it is a very interesting space, I will say. Around the world, there are people from different cultures and who contribute and add biographies of great women. And for Kenya, we have a community. And I would proudly say that we broke the ceiling by having it established by women only. So this year, there is the Global Wikimedia Foundation that is always supporting women. And in celebration of the Women's Month, we got a recognition like, how have you been able to make it through? You know, the Wikimedia space is more of tech, and you know, it's only men who can be able to do very good photos, you know, and write very good articles. But the African continent is changing the narrative of, you know, let's identify great women. The 4 great women here, how notable are they in their field, and how can we make visibility? So at our end, we try to make visibility for women, and especially our Kenya Women Group. And I think we started our small organization like 4 years ago, and I will say like 4 years, or I think 5 years down the line, we are bringing to Kenya the biggest international conference for the global Wikimedians in Nairobi in August. Yeah. So people would ask, how did you do it? And we will be like, we also did a bidding just like any other country, especially. So it's such a great space to just try and break the ceiling, and we are 4 or 5 top ladies doing everything, and men will be like, how are you doing it? How are you getting to meet these great people? And we are equally to the task, I believe so. So
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hello everyone.
Hello.
So as you've seen, my name is Linda, Honorable Linda. And to begin with, what is very unique about me, I was born in 12th December 2004, so I'm 20 years of age. I serve in very many places. I serve as the Secretary General and the County Secretary of Future Leaders Alliance Kenya. I serve as the President of the Strathmore Spanish Community. And yeah, and as you can see, very young as I am, I'm vying for the county woman representative in Kericho Camp 2024.
Wow.
I'm not even afraid to face the people that I'm going to face, because I know that I'm very capable. So you see, for example, there was a certain fight between me and someone recently. The guy was saying that I'm going nowhere. Okay, we had fight. So she was telling me, and you want to become a leader? And then I was like, yes, I want to become a leader. And there is no way you're coming to tell me whatever you're telling me that I cannot be able. Have I done any work for you to see that I'm not able? For me, things like that, they can never bring me down. I'm strong to heart. And I can never kneel down to beg. But I can kneel down to ask you to stop doing things that are not necessary to be done in this world. Nice. So the things that are very unique to me, I would like to say thank you to Honorable Millie Odhiambo, because I'm a product of her. She has raised me a lot. She tells me that bad girls never sit in the corner office. And in fact, I don't sit at the corner. And by sitting at the corner, it means that you should not allow people to bring you down. So I'm very strong to heart. I'm ready to stand. And I even came here to announce to the country that I'll be running in 2027. I don't care my age, but yeah, I'll be there. I'll be in the ballot. And I'm expecting the leaders to support us. Beautiful. And women there, please support us. We need you to be very close to us, because we go through a lot as young leaders, but we are not going to surrender. We are going to fight. And we are not going to be humiliated as well. We are going to fight. Once again, viva women, viva.
Viva.
Viva women, viva.
Viva.
Yeah, so there is power in women in leadership.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lydia.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, my name is Martha Homboy Wanjao. I am the founder of Otugi Angels, which is a community of persons with disabilities. And under Otugi Angels, we run several programs. We have 7. cutting across the 360-degree approach to disability. And among the 7 programs, 5 are led by women, and they are really making me proud. We are hopeful that we are going to penetrate in Africa. We are going to be the best disability service provider in Africa. We have protected and regained confidence in very many women and girls with disabilities, and we are really proud of our work because God is with us, and we believe that it is about our mindset, the strength of our hearts that is going to break any ceiling standing between us and any success. We envision to be the best disability service provider in Africa, and our approach is 360 degrees approach, like not just education, not just therapy. You know, so many things are basic in terms of disability services. And so we have to look at the holistic, including when we see the beginning, we have to see the end. We have to know that we need the cottage industries that will suit the kind of people that we are serving. And so we are looking at areas that people with disabilities can work in. And even as we begin, as we continue empowering the communities, we also continue developing the industries. So that is a model that you're going to work with at one point, because disability is amidst us. And so you're welcome to Otugi Angels to work together, because in disability we don't work in isolation. We work in partnership with everybody. We are working in partnership with Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, all ministry, with the social services and all the departments, because disability is holistic, like the needs are holistic. And if you address one need and leave the other, you still fail, because you will not achieve success without the partnership or the role of everybody playing their role. The therapist, the special needs teacher, the caretaker, the caregiver who is empowered to, to bring out that heart. We have rescued many people who have been abandoned, those that are lost. We have reconnected many people with disabilities with their families, and we are proud to be on that space. Okay. We are going to break the ceiling, and we must be the voice in Africa and beyond. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Allow us to take it away from you for a second, because we have to cross over to the United Nations headquarters, New York. George Maringa on standby, and it's as if Millie Odhiambo is watching. Millie Odhiambo watching,
one of the greatest,
and has seen the would we say the fruit of her labor, or pretty much a person that she has mentored. I think I began by talking about mentorship and how critical it is, and so we get to cross over to that other side. First of all, get to hear what the plans are in relation to advancing the concerns of the women globally, but as well to listen from the bad girl. All right, George.
Thank you so much, Linda and Liz. Good afternoon. It is just about 1:03 p.m. here in New York at the UN headquarters in of the United Nations headquarters here in New York, United States. And just to show you the building we are in, as you can see the flags. Yesterday, one of the flags was right there, the Kenyan flag actually. But we've been listening to the conversation and on matters of women, because this is the 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. And I'm joined by Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Bad Girl Millie. A lot was happening in studio. There is a lady who says you actually mentored her. And questions have been especially on the progress we are doing as a country globally. And you spoke about it earlier, and we'll be listening to what you said earlier in the earlier session. But where are we as a country, as the world, in matters of women's rights, and especially also leadership?
Well, I can say since Beijing, which is now 30 years, the world has progressed significantly, and Kenya has especially progressed. And if you look at it in terms of legislation that we have passed that promotes women in issues of women representation, in issues of economic empowerment, you can see in Kenya, we become very digital. It's something that the world recognizes. The things we take for granted, that we have M-Pesa, that people can borrow, M-Pop and stuff like that. A lot of countries are not in that place. So Kenya, we have moved, even from a human rights perspective, we have done quite a lot. But the challenge is there's of course been a pushback very recent, and that's why we are seeing cases of femicide. You can see there's a global people who want the 47 women removed instead of enhancing. But it's all because of a misunderstanding that women's empowerment. Some people think women being empowered is to put them in competition with men. It's not being put in competition with men. It's basically correcting historical wrongs that has made women lag behind men. But other than that, this is what we are here for. The Commission on the Status of Women is to assess where the world is at 30 years since we came up with the 13-point agenda to improve the lot of women in the world. And we have, as a world, as a globe, progressed, but Kenya, we have done significantly very well. Of course, the areas are still many, but we've done relatively well.
What would be, what importance is it? Kenyans have been asking the twin pictures of the former Prime Minister's wife, Mama Ida Odinga, governor here. What importance is it for CSW 69, especially for Kenya back home, and what would be perhaps one of the objectives that you would anticipate would be a good call to action from New York?
What I can say is that sometimes people don't understand. People think that when you come here, they see us in New York, that they think it's just mainly like a joyride. It's not a joyride. When you are here, for instance, you are with me in the section, and we are counting what Kenya has done and showcasing what Kenya has done. Again, as I've told you, people take the things that we have achieved in Kenya granted because they are with us in Kenya. The fact that we have many more women in parliament. When I got in, we were only 16 women. Now we are over 100 women in parliament. The fact that now we have MCAs, which we never had in county assemblies. The fact that in the judiciary, we are almost at 50% women. The fact that even, as I said, even in education, there are many more girls that are doing very well, as opposed to 30 years ago. So there's a lot that has happened in Kenya. And the digital space has been enhanced. Our human rights process has been enhanced. It's just that there has been, not just in Kenya, but globally, in the last 2 or so years, there's been a pushback against human rights and against women's rights. But as a country, for sure, we have moved forward. But how did we move forward? We wouldn't have moved forward if we were not meeting like here. Because we met as the world and came with those standards 30 years ago. And because we came with those standards 30 years ago, that are measured every year. When we're here, we measure our progress in terms of what the decisions we took 30 years ago. Where are we at now? Is there a problem? Where can it be sorted? Like now we are talking about the situation that is pertaining because of the way Americans have decided to withdraw their money. What is the world discussing? How do we sort that out? Is there a way that countries can be helped? Do we need technical assistance? Where are the funding gaps? How can funding be restructured? How can other countries come in? That conversation can only be had in Kenya with Kenyans only. But we're having that conversation not just with Kenyans, but other multilateral agencies, other countries as well. And it is through initiatives like that that we also have other agencies, sometimes giving assistance in cash or in kind. But not only that, sometimes we learn from each other. Like you notice when you are talking as Kenya, there are many countries that were taking notes. In the same manner as Kenya, when we come here, we learn from other countries where we can also help. It's not benchmarking, but it is actually learning from each other, holding each other accountable, and monitoring our steps and seeing where we have missed steps and which need to be corrected.
Absolutely. I'll give you a chance just a minute to say to a lady who says you mentioned her and she's in studio.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you very much. And I'm humbled and honored to know that I've made a difference in your life. And God can use me more to do that.
Indeed. This has been Honorable Mule. Thank you so much, Ms. Shimela. She did make a presentation earlier on in one of the side events here at the headquarters. And just to show you, she's doing those elections are from Kenya, living in New York. who celebrate, because it is a conference on the 69th session, of the Commission on the Status of Women, where a lot is really happening. Several delegates have converged for several sessions to just be able to discuss, especially on Beijing Plus 30. You've had from Millie Atieno, Mheshimiwa, that, what was discussed in Beijing 30 years ago is what is being put on check. For instance, let me show you this side event that is going on. This is the side event in Gaza for Dignity. Earlier on, that's where we were for a session on women in leadership and parliamentarians. There is CSW side event, Tech and Empowerment, Global South Perspective. So there is a plethora of issues. That is Millie Atieno, and I think a section of Kenyans who are here to just be able to share. We are live on TV47. We are live on TV47 Kenya. What do you have to say to the women back home, and what CSW means for you?
Yeah, this is an important to say. Women power. Every person, every woman out there should be doing whatever they're doing, whether in small, big way, even in part of the society. At the end of the day, the women, the girls, we are.
What's your name?
I'm Bathsheba. I'm from Kenya. I'm an assistant commissioner under the Ministry of Interior. Currently, I'm in Japan and running my master's in public policy.
Brilliant. And what about you, ma'am?
Yes, I'm Ren, and I'm studying in Ghana. I speak both French and English, and I'm also here to support women. And then, like she said earlier, every small thing that you are doing, you know that we are there, we are all going to support you.
And you, ma'am, finally?
Together with Kewa, and also
Absolutely. And this is Kewapa. Perhaps you can speak about, what Kewapa does that matters women in leadership.
Okay, so my name is Elizabeth Mutuku. I'm the executive director at the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association. So our work is mainly to support the women in parliament so that they're able to effectively carry out their mandate, legislation, oversight, and representation. So we do that through various ways. Capacity building and working like this, we then have brilliant events and working for government will come from a meeting of the parliamentary union where women will start from sharing challenges and learn from each other.
Absolutely.
We are happy to do that.
Let me leave you to have the moment with the Honorable Millie Atieno. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Our viewers, Linda and Liz, that's the situation here at the UN in New York. The first day was yesterday, Monday, and there was also the arrival of the former Prime Minister's wife, that is Mama Ida Odinga, Governor Gladys Wanga, that is Governor Wabinyandeti. The Kenyan delegation is led by PS Amangombe, the PS for Gender, and the Kenyan mission is just outside the UN headquarters. On my right, we'll be able to also get more perspective about this commission on the status of women. But that is what is happening here in New York. We want to continue to wish you fruitful discussions in studio, Linda and Liz, as we continue to follow what is happening, especially on the sidelines at the backdrop of IWC.
Oh, thank you so much, George. I almost waved back, assuming that they're seeing us. But isn't that beautiful to see the African women, and they had to do the allelations, and ululations or allalation, Gemi,
yes.
Who attended the Gemi thing? There's no Kikuyu here who attended the Gemi thing. Yeah, but yes, it's just beautiful to see the women out there, and they continue to champion the agenda. We have a report from the African Development Bank that speaks to the fact that we still have a long way to go. We're at 50%. What happens to the rest of the 50%? And that means that we must engage, we must have these conversations. At least over to you so that you can engage the ladies before we come back to you. All right.
Kuna kitu ambacho kimekuwa kikizungumziwa zaidi katika nafasi ya uongozi, kwamba mwanamke ni adui ya mwanamke katika nafasi ya uongozi na wakati ambapo tunatafuta nafasi za uongozi. Nimemsikiza yule dada yetu mdogo wakati ambapo akizungumzia masuala ya uongozi, na akawa akisema kwamba anahitaji mentorship. Lakini nikawa nikifikiria, ni ukweli kwamba mwanamke ni adui ya mwanamke mwenzake wakati ambapo tunakuwa katika nafasi za uongozi, na pia tunahitaji nafasi zaidi. Ni kwa kuwa Rais William Ruto akipiga kampeni alituahidi kwamba itakuwa 50-50, lakini wakati ambapo ilifika kwa reality ni kwamba tulipata 20 ama ni 30% tu, lakini haikufikia ile ambayo tuliahidiwa. Je, ni mwanamke mwanzo ni adui ya mwanamke mwenzake? Sitachuzi yoyote, ningependa kusikia kutoka kwenu. Sitaki kusema eti huyu azungumze, mwenye anahisi hili swali.
Nianze. Nigusie tu kidogo. Hicho kasumba, nitakiita kasumba. Mwanamke ni adui ya mwanamke mwenzake. Sitaki kusema kwamba nimeishuhudia ama ipo, sina evidence, lakini ni kitu imekuwa, wanawake wamekuwa kiona kwa wenyewe. Lakini dawa ya huyo mwanamke adui mwenye akutaki mema, dawa yake ni umuonyeshe kwamba utayafanya yale ambayo anakuzuia. Chukua mstari wa mbele, umuonyeshe kwamba nitaifanya. Hata kama utaki nifanye, kwa sababu utaenda kwa mwanamke mwenzako umwambie nataka kufanya hivi na hivi. Wacha nipeane example yangu. Nilipoanza kujiintroduce nilisema mimi ni Pauline na mtanijua zaidi, a she of all trade. I'm a communications expert. I'm a media personality. I'm a professional rally driver. Na hizi zote nimefanya pamoja na wanawake wenzangu. Nimefanya na wanaume. Kwanza kabisa nikizungumzia upande wa taarifa za habari, vile hawa wanavyosoma hapa hivi. Wajua kabla yeye aende kwenye runinga kusoma, kuna vitu ambavyo anastahili kupitia na kupita. There are certain things she must get before she gets into the screen. First, for you to be a presenter on the screen, you must look like wow. Unaona vile ni warembo? Hata mimi nilikuwa nasoma taarifa nyakati hizo. I presented news with the late Anne Ofula. Those were my mentors. I presented news with Catherine Kasavuli, the late. Those were my mentors. With all these men, Badi Muksin. All these legends you see on screen, I've sat with them, both women and men. And sometimes, yes, we are our own enemies, because when I see these beauties on the screen, I feel like they are not supposed to be there. Why not me? Why not so and so? Why not you? Mbona ni wao? Unaona tayari hiyo kasumba imeanza kukuingia, wamchukia mwenzako bila sababu. Ni kwa vile ni mrembo amepewa fursa ya kusoma. Wewe umejaribu kwenda kujiuliza kama utaweza ama utaweza. Kama hauwezi kusoma kwenye runinga, kuna redio. Redio inahitaji tu sauti yako. Kwa hivyo kabla umuonyeshe mwenzako kidole cha lawama kwamba huyu hanitaki, mwanamke mwenzangu hanitaki, ni kwa vile umesikia kutoka kwa watu ama umeshuhudia ama amekufanyia. Sometimes you don't judge people because you've heard from others. First get the experience. Have you interacted with that lady? I could treat the way and I could treat. For you to accuse that person. I hate accusing people without evidence or going through that experience. Sometimes get to know this person. Just because nimefika hapa kwa studio nikaambiwa yule mwanamke ni mbaya sana, hapendi watu, sasa na mimi nianze kumchukia bure. Akijaribu kufanya hivi namzuia. Naendesha magari. I do safari rally, and currently I'm preparing for the World Rally Championship next week. I'm getting onto the ramp with men and my fellow women. But before I got into WRC,
a clap at least. Honestly,
thank you. Aside from broadcast, because it reached a point I had to pave way for youngsters, you young ones, to take on the screen. These ones were so many news because I felt my time is up. Sometimes as a fellow woman, and you have seen there's a talent somewhere, na unaona wakati wako umefika. That door, the one that the other lady opened for you, leave it open for the next person to get into it. Usiingie na ukaifunga na ukaendelea. Mimi nilikuwa kwenye chumba cha habari, nimesoma news for the past 15 years. I've read with all these legends you see on the screen. I can say these are my students. Na nikiona wanasoma taarifa vibaya nitawaambia hapana. peleka watu polepole. Our viewers wanapenda kutuongozwa kwenye screen so that I watch TV47. Hiyo ndio lugha nitaitumia. Talk nicely to the viewers. So for me, it reached a point I felt it is my time to pave way to the young ones. And I identified certain ladies, young ones, very beautiful. Kanze Dena, Lulu Hassan, Mwanamisi Hamadi, Jane Ngoiri, all those are my students. Na nikawaambia wakati wenyu ni sasa, chukueni usukani. Ningekuwa na hiyo roho ambayo kama the late Anne of Fuller hangenishikilia mkono, Catherine Kasavuli hangenishikilia mkono, Esther Githui, sijui kama mnawajua, hamtawajua, ni wale wa zama, go and research. Kina Lina Shiveka, wote hao walinishika mkono. So even me, I felt it is time to handle the battle to somebody else. So until you are told, unless you feel you yourself that, am I really following the right thing? Why am I listening to this person talking negative about so and so? Before you even encounter, experience. Ningekuwa nafuatilia hayo, singekuwa kwenye mbio za magari sasa hivi.
Okay. To you?
I think for me that has not been my experience. I think my biggest mentors, my biggest sponsors have been women and continue to be women. People who hold my hand, people who understand the challenges. It will be difficult to get a sponsor who's a man. And yes, I have male allies who sponsored me in rooms where I'm not. But sometimes there's certain things where only a woman leader can understand that I am feeling guilty leaving my 2-year-old to be able to travel to another country. So that's the only person who can really hold your hand. And even as Pauline has spoken about, when you hear her list, it is women. So I think for me, it is a narrative that has been progressed, that women are our own enemies. In fact, majority of the people who hold your hands are your fellow women. There might be one or two who might not hold your hand, and that's a personality issue. It is not because women are enemies of other women. So for me, that really has not been an experience. I have very amazing mentors who've spoken very well of me in rooms, and I've gotten opportunities to serve because a woman said, Liz can do it. As opposed to, and I would say this, even men, sometimes men also either undercut other men, but you do not see that narrative coming out that, oh, now men are against other men. I think for me it's a personality issue, and allow women to be able to send down the elevator. Sometimes individually, also as a woman, you have to identify, is it the perception that there are limited opportunities, that I'm blocking other people or other women from coming inside, feeling that they are getting into my space? Opportunities are so many. Open that door. Because if you think that you've reached the ceiling, when you allow other younger ladies to come, when you allow other peers to come, you actually realize maybe they are pushing you to get out of your comfort zone, go higher so that you leave space for them.
You say you are in that space of, now getting to people, listening to the ground, working on your thesis and dissertation and establishing just what lags us behind or what propels us to levels that we are in. Facts are stubborn. Figures are stubborn. When we say that, yes, women have propelled us, they have helped us, but when we look at the numbers, we hear that they speak of minimal mentorship programs. And when you're talking about mentorship for girls, you certainly expect that it will be girls that are actually mentoring these girls even more than men would. What do you make of this, in relation to what Liz asks?
Okay, so I definitely would disagree. First of all, the narrative of women are their worst enemies was created to cause disruption within women. To make that narrative like, oh, you guys are fighting each other, so just continue in that bubble as the we take over the world. Honestly, it's not the case. And let's imagine, for this conversation, that there's 1 ounce of reality to it, and it actually is true. Aren't you tired of hearing it? Like in 2025, we're saying we're not being held back by these things anymore. I've grown up hearing that narrative, but then it's in contrast with what is happening, because every time you talk to, here only that lady talked about Millie Odhiambo helping her, that's a woman. We all have stories about women help, she's speaking about how she was helped by women and how she helped women.
if you're saying women are your worst enemies, what about the mother who raised you and opened doors for you? And the grandmother who sacrificed to make sure you get where you are today? Those are all women. So women have always built each other up, and they will continue. What we need to see, and this is where the culture element comes in, and this is where the statistic comes in as well. The fact remains is women are getting a minimal chance at leadership. And that's what we're discussing here today. All the noise aside, we're talking about women in leadership.
Right.
So we have, with all due respect to Honorable Millie Odhiambo, Beijing plus 30 was great, but can we focus on the 30 years, 3 decades? And we're still sitting here and having discussions. Yes, there's been strides. Yes, Kenya has gone, I don't want to say leaps and bounds, because that wouldn't be the truth. We've made some things. When you talk about before there were 13 women in parliament and now there are 100, what's the percentage of women in leadership in political parties? It's like this small.
It's tiny.
It's like 7%? 9%.
Do they cause this lagging behind? Because then the question tonight is, do you suppose the leaders, the women leaders that we are aware of are doing, something that is significant enough to open doors for other women without much of struggle? Because you will hear them say, oh, they are flower girls, our women representatives, we can't feel you on ground, and all that kind of thing.
I'd like to go back to what you were saying to answer that question. You're not the only one. Every woman who has sat on a table with men has been... I know a lady who was told, because she was sitting like this, and they was staring at her breasts, and she was told, well, anything on the table is part of the discussion today, because her boobs were on the table.
Right.
Well, if you're the woman in the room, it doesn't matter if you're young or old. It doesn't matter if you're CEO or president. You're the one who will be looked at to take minutes or to serve the tea. You know what I'm saying? Now, the difference is here. How do we accelerate the action that we want? We will not keep talking about it. We will turn around and we'll make our stand. And that's the reason. I think that's the issue. I was saying it earlier. Men are very easily ready to make a stand. And they don't think twice about, nitarushiwa mawe, or somebody will shout at me, they don't. They know I need to make my stand now. It's that male dominance element. Okay. So women, maybe out of nature, we are more reserved.
Yes,
and the unconscious bias. We can't stop talking about this. I know you spoke about we have to respect religions and cultures. I am 100% on that. But there are cultures that have caused unconscious bias. When we talk about unconscious bias, these are things that we are doing unconsciously, and they are creating, subconscious elements that live through generations, generational trauma. Till today, people are still inheriting wives. Women are being inherited.
And they're comfortable with that.
A woman is being told, I will remove your clitoris. And that is literally your enjoyment to sex. There's the pharaonic one where every time the man leaves home, the woman is stitched up. Her labia is stitched up so that another man cannot enter. So as long as we look at women, there are women who cannot inherit today. Your father is a millionaire, he has died, the boys get everything. The uncles get everything. So when we talk about cultural setbacks, these are all of them.
Right.
Now, women, what are we doing? There are very few women who are taking up the discussion and pushing back.
We'll be coming to that.
Yes.
Yes, we'll be coming to that. I'll allow Liz for a minute or two before she takes us for a break to engage one lady on that side of the audience. All right.
All right, I'll start with you.
Hello, everyone. Okay, my name is Liz, but till today, I'm able to say I'm Elizabeth when I found so many Elizabeth here.
There are 50 of them here today.
Yeah, I used not to like that name, but now I love it, seeing so many women in leadership. I used to admire Pauline Shegu growing up. I would watch her. I would watch her and I would be like, oh God, this lady is so beautiful. When I was growing up, she used to grace our screen on KBC. Regarding women leadership, I work for an organization that we do food supplement. I'm a health consultant and a child psychologist, but now I'm working with I'm doing our food supplement. And I would like to say this. We women, we are not our own enemies, but there are women who don't like women. I can say this for sure because I have been hated at work by women because of reasons that I cannot explain. I'll give a scenario, a very short one. One day I was attending a woman because before we give supplement, we cancel and we check, we do the whole diagnosis. Yeah? Then she told me, is there any other doctor here? I said, no. She said, you can't attend me. I asked her, why? You look like the woman who disappeared with my husband. So the whole thing changed. I asked her, which part do I look? Your back. Spedi watu wako na nini kubwa. You see, now she has hated me and there's nothing that I have done to her. So I have done psychology, so I understand how human brain works. This woman is not hating on me, but she has been subjected to something that makes women who look like me are her enemies. Every time she finds a woman in the lift who look like me, she remember what happened to her marriage. Sometimes women are so hurt, so broken, such that they just walk because they need to survive. And when we understand from that perspective, I think we will stop being so judgmental towards other women, because I could have hated her and tell her, talk her. But I took her through, mom, na kuelewa. But I'm not that woman, I'm Elizabeth. It's Joyce who hurt you. And I took her through the journey of, even my dad left, but my mom never hated women because we are all women. Let's stop hating people that you don't know because you've been in that journey. And we went through the process. So women, we were put in that scenario of knowing that women don't like women, but we have to demystify the myth and love each other, support each other. I look at beautiful women that have grown seeing, and I'm so happy to see her going to another level and allowing beautiful women to take over, not still because she's not pretty, but because she knows that she has to lay a ground for others.
Every time she comes here, we are scared that our CEO might just decide to bring her back on screen. Please,
yeah, but she has laid ground for you people. Yeah. Kasavuri, she was how many years when she was still on the screen? So it's not like she cannot be on the screen, but she allowed other women to shine. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Elizabeth, kindly hold your thoughts. We'll be back after this very short commercial break.